Bittner,
Here.
Commissioner Conley,
Here.
Commissioner Jarrett,
Here.
Commissioner Munson, Commissioner Patrick,
Here.
Commissioner Rich,
Here.
Commissioner Streifel,
Here.
Commissioner Zuroff,
Here.
and Chairman Agnew.
Here.
8 present.
Thank you. We'll move into the approval of the April 9th, 2025 minutes. I think everyone has had a chance to take a look at those. They're in your packet.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Zuroff to approve and seconded by, we'll say, Commissioner Connolly. Is there any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
any opposition? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. All right, moving to the consent agenda. We have 2 pieces on our consent agenda, and does anyone want to talk in a little more detail on either one of these? Or would we like to move to approve the consent agenda as is? Anyone have any things that they would like to delve into?
Move to approve the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved to approve the consent agenda as is by Commissioner Zuroff, seconded by Commissioner Rich. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. And that consent agenda included the Beegler subdivision and the Plains Ridge subdivision. We will move into the public hearings for this evening. We have 2 public hearings on the docket. We'll move into the first one, the special use permit for Weiss. And if Mitch or Marla, if you'd like to take us through the details on these, or on the Weiss public hearing.
So you're moving it up to the first part of the agenda, the public hearing?
The
The
Weiss,
Weiss.
the special use
Weiss.
permit, or Weiss, excuse me. Special use permit request for Weiss.
Okay?
Yes.
This is, they're moving a 1,700 square foot building from North Bismarck, about 10 miles south to the 9951 Highway 10. It's about 10 miles. They did send out a ballot petition to the neighbors, which we have copies of it. There's no objections. We have not received any comments and objected to this. That's about it. It's an accessory building, really nice. I have pictures here. It's a really nice building. And I could see why he wants to move it.
Okay, any questions for Mitch before we move into opening the public hearing?
So that's it. That's it. The Carrington House Movers would be the one that are doing the job, and so it's fairly simple. It's just part of our ordinances that anytime you want to move a building, that requires public comment.
Okay. Any questions, comments for Mitch before we open the public hearing? If not, thank you, Mitch. We will now open the public hearing. If anyone would like to speak on this special use permit request for Weiss, please approach the lectern. Introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from. Sign the form. If anyone would like to speak in this public hearing, please approach the lectern. And third time, if anyone would like to speak. Seeing none, We will close the public hearing and move into action on this item of special use permit request for Weiss.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved to approve by Commissioner Conley, seconded by Commissioner Zuroff. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will move into a roll call vote. Marla, if you could take us through that.
Okay. The motion is to approve the move. A yes vote means you approve, no means you do not. Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuroff,
Yes.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Streifel,
Yes.
Commissioner Jarrett,
Yes.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Patrick,
Yes.
Chairman,
Yes.
8.
Thank
4.
you. All right, that will move on to the commission, or the county commission, excuse me, as is. We'll move into our second public hearing of the evening. This is Article 8, Special Uses, Ag Recreation. And Marla, if you could take us through the details, or some of the details on this, and then we'll open the public hearing for comment.
Okay. We redid the amendment for Article 8 to add agricultural recreation, and the past history is we've had this before us a couple times already. So what we decided after the last public hearing is we brought our focus group back together. The list has 37 names on it, but not all attended. We got together, we submitted the original version, and then we had a cut-down version, and they decided to go with the cut-down version, which offers any property that it's on 10 acres or more, 75 days per year for under 50 people per day. Then they wouldn't require a special use permit. And anything on this can be changed. It also has on here on section 1, item G, relating to principal agricultural use at which less than 50 people per day, in case there's an agricultural use that we didn't catch. You can never get them all because things change. So then we have allowable with a special use permit is domestic wineries, domestic distilleries, tap rooms. Those all have to be approved by the state before they can even apply for a special use permit. Any events relating to principal agricultural use, which is more than 50 persons per day. And events specific is like overnight camping, camping for trail rides, rodeos, agricultural events. We broke down some of the requirements that would be required for a special use permit. We did this in both the minimum, the 50 people plus the larger groups. And like the sound generated, we kept that the same as what we use for our data centers so that we were consistent across the ordinances, all of them. We added adequate restroom facilities, no roadside parking, and we also said we had to have a minimum of 12 feet of lanes for travel in the parking lot. So it pretty much lets the Planning Commission and the County Commission on individual special use permits set the rules for those large events. It doesn't say that all events need a 100-foot setback from the property line, because we do know that there are slender, narrow 40 acres, plus there's square 40 acres, and not all the rules would apply. So we did give a lot of limitations or requirements that would be required by the County Planning Commission and the County Commission on here so that we can make it specific per event. So, any questions?
All right, any questions for Marla before she steps away? Commissioner Rich?
Yeah, I just want to make it clear, see if I'm clear about this. So we have Papa's Pumpkin Patch. It's in the ETA, and of course, it's been going for years and a great success. They don't operate but maybe, I don't know, a month and a half, a year, 2 months, I'm not sure. But I've been up there's a couple hundred people there. So if we were gonna, somebody in Steele, North Dakota was gonna establish a Steele Pumpkin Patch with that kind of attendance, they could do it with a special use permit?
They could
If-
do, yeah,
They could do it.
they could do it with a special use permit.
But they couldn't do it if they had under 10 acres. They'd have to have more than 10
Right.
acres.
They have to have more than 10
They'd have to have
acres.
more than 10 acres, because under 10 acres, they'd be limited to 50 a day, and it would never work.
Well, under 10 acres, they're not considered agricultural anymore.
Oh,
They're
sure.
R1, a residential
I
lot.
understand, rightfully so.
Yeah, and so on the 10 acres, and the limit really is the 50 people. If you're gonna have just 50 people, then we have 75 days, okay? If you're gonna have more than 50 people, doesn't matter how many days.
You
If you're
gotta have
gonna
a
have
special-
more than 50 people, you need to apply for a special use
Special
permit.
use permit. Because when I think of Papa's Pumpkin Patch, you might have 2 school buses full of kids, and it's gonna be way beyond the 50 people.
Yeah. He was at our meeting, and he was very involved in allowing us to see what it looks like from the entrepreneur side of it.
Sure.
And how we can write our ordinance so that it does allow growth. Like he said, he started out, just did it. And
Yeah.
then as it went, he ended up getting a special use. And finally, it got to the size where he needed to have a PUD and get the zoning change. So we wanted to be aware of that when we wrote this ordinance, the focus group, so that we're not cutting off any entrepreneurs in Burleigh
Well, we don't want
County.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yeah,
I could
go ahead,
follow
go
up. I lost my train of thought. There you go. So anyway, as far as getting a special use permit, they have to come through this board and the
Yes.
city commission in order to secure a special use
Well,
permit.
they
No?
come here for a special use permit public hearing like we did tonight for the Weiss.
Sure.
Or Weiss. And then if you guys approve it, then it goes to the county commission.
So excuse
Yeah.
me, county commission. So they have to go through the full process in order.
They have
get
to
that.
go through the special use or the public hearing process so that we can get public comment on it. We're not going to allow a special use without getting neighbors' comments,
Okay.
so.
Okay, thank you so much, Marla.
You
Thank you,
bet.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
and Marla, I'm glad you brought up the PUD piece. So the PUD piece is completely separate from this. So if you had and I believe, I forget the name of the people that are doing it, but it's north and it is west of 83 up
Yeah.
there for the wedding reception
Yeah.
place, which they're looking at a PUD. So none of this would apply.
No.
That would be specially written for them, just for their use.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make that clear.
Yep.
Okay.
Just for them. And in fact, the ordinance even says that on here, that in item, let's see, 8, under the additional requirements for special use, or number 2, it says limitations and requirements as determined by the Board of Burleigh County Commissioners for each special use permit. The limitations and requirements are special use permit specific and may not be required on all agricultural recreation special use. So we covered that.
Good.
So.
Good. Any other comment or questions for Marla before she steps away and we start the public hearing?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
have a
ahead.
question, if I may,
Go ahead,
Mr.
yep.
Chairman. So, 10 acres, 10 acres or more, you still have to have a special use permit?
No, we have that in there. If you have, 10 acres or more with more than 50 people, then you have to have a special use
So you
permit.
can have up to 50 people, no special use permit.
Right. And, if you have, right now it's sitting at 75 days, but I've gotten a lot of emails that is too many days, so we can change that. You guys can change that as a commission.
Okay. Any other questions for Marla? Yeah. Commissioner Streifel.
I did participate in both focus groups, and I just kind of wanted to bring up that on number one, we did allow for an exception for educational agricultural tours, so that, as you mentioned, busloads of kids, if they're going to something where they're being educated on ag, there's no restrictions, no limits on that. And then, yes, we do have some concerns about the 75 times a year. I was just kind of going through some of our zoning ordinances, and when we have a carnival or a circus, we aren't able to exceed 21 days. I thought that was interesting. And if we have a religious meeting in a tent, we're not to exceed 60 days. So when we were in our focus group, we were talking about a growing season when we were talking about 75 days, and it just got a little carried away because I think 75 days would constitute every weekend of a year. And so growing seasons, typically I did look up apples, blueberries, pumpkins, sweet corn, strawberries, and we're not looking at more than 60 days really for growing seasons. So I think we do need to take a look at what we're doing on the 75-day thing, and I'm sure there's people here to speak about that too, so I just kind of wanted to interject
Okay.
that.
Sounds great.
Any
Any other questions for Marla? Thanks, Marla. We'll open up this public hearing. I'll limit speaking to 10 minutes. That should be plenty adequate. The public hearing is now open. If you would like to speak on the Article 8 Special Uses Ag Recreation, you can approach the lectern, tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, and sign the roster. If anyone would like to speak on the Article 8 Special Uses Ag Recreation, please approach the lectern, tell us who you are, sign the roster, and let us know where you're from.
You guys probably all know me by now, but Kurt Fleck from Bismarck here. So been involved with this ordinance special use permit thing since the get-go 2 years ago. So hopefully we'll probably have some finalization and bring this to a head, right? B hit on it a little bit. Like I said, been to every one of those meetings. The intent of the 75 days was to cover the growing season, not to give somebody, and I think that we talked extensively in those meetings too, everybody that was there, about the wordsmithing on the ordinance and to make sure that the intent is laid out, whether it's an example or what, right? So whether it's a pumpkin patch, Christmas tree farm, strawberry patch, whatever it might be, so we don't have 75 days leading into everything else, right? It's purely ag. So however we got to word that to make sure that the intent is out there and we don't have people running down the road, which everybody sitting in there knows that that's probably going to happen if we don't clarify the intent. So Marla, that's all I'd say on that. But whether it's 60 days, 5 days, or 75 days, I think the numbers, in my opinion, is irrelevant. It's the wording and it's the intent of what those days are supposed to be used for. So, like I said, you can give them whatever number you want. If the intent isn't laid out, it's not going to matter. So,
Thanks, Kurt. Any questions for Kurt? Yeah, Commissioner
Mr.
Rich.
Yeah, go ahead,
Chairman, Mr. Fleck.
yep.
So is the wording okay now? What should we change? You got any ideas?
B hit it on there a couple times. I think the big thing in there is, again, 75 days pertaining to what? Ag, and the intent would be a growing season, right? So if it's strawberries for 6 weeks, they're not selling strawberries up front. They got to ripen, and you got a 2-week period or a 3-week period there where you're probably selling, right? So,
But you think it's okay the way we've got it worded now, the way Marla got it?
I perused the final document. I didn't look at the final detail there, but I think there needs to be a little bit more with what the intent is. There are a couple examples of what the growing period might be, right?
Because intent is difficult. I mean,
I agree.
What's written in the ordinance is what counts.
That's correct. Intent is difficult. But if you don't give some examples of that or run down that road, then intent is anybody's intent, right? So if you don't do that, John, and we don't give you a tool to use, then we're back to a rabbit hole deal again where we were 2 years ago, right? So we got to give this commission and the county commission a tool to use at some point. So, whatever that might be. Go
Thanks.
ahead, Dale.
Question, yeah, Commissioner Patrick, yeah.
So are you suggesting that maybe we should add into the ordinance that a statement regarding the growing season?
I think so. I mean, just clarify the intent of what the day period is all about.
And then maybe lower it to 60 days?
60, yep, 50, whatever. I mean, I think that number would be fine, but again, I think if the intent is clearly understood, or everybody has a understanding of what the intent is, I think it alleviates a lot of the other issues.
Would 60 days be excessive? Would we be able to go down to, say, 50 days?
I think you'd be perfectly okay at 50 or 60 days.
Yes, Commissioner Streifel.
This actually started, when we first started working on this, it was 30 times a year. And so I entertain what maybe Mitch thinks would be a good idea, but what, we can start with a certain number and we can always go up. It's just really hard.
That's correct.
It's just really hard to go and subtract the days. And this is basically if you want to have a family function on your property, or you want to have a family wedding, or you're going to have a neighborhood party, that doesn't involve, this is not anything in pertaining to that. So this is about ag-related activities that is going to constitute 50 people or more per day for multiple days.
Yes, Commissioner Zuroff, we'll go to you.
So,
Yes.
thank you, Chairman. So just to follow up on Commissioner Streifel's statement, because I sat in on all this as well. And I think everybody sitting here knows we got into the weeds, right? Really, I think the overall scoping of this is the initial line in the sand, okay? This is what's gonna be dividing, okay, we're doing a cutesy little you-pick orchard versus we're doing a pumpkin patch versus we're doing a massive wedding venue, okay? So it's just ensuring that there are lines in the sand, and the reason I use the term lines in the sand is you can always move it, okay? Is this gonna be perfect? No, this is not gonna be perfect right out the gate, so like Mr. Fleck stated, you could give them 5 days, 50 days, 60 days, 75 days, you give them 180 days, doesn't matter. It's gonna be too much for some people, it's not gonna be enough for others. But it's finding that point where, okay, we can generally all agree, we're good here. But I will, again, just forewarn everybody in the room, we've already been in the weeds on this. We're building that violin now, we are fine tuning this, we're done chopping that tree down, so,
This is a draft. This can't be changed.
Right. I just, without getting into, because we could literally go.
You'd be back rabbit hole
We
again.
could rabbit hole this really easy, so just want to forewarn everybody on that.
Sounds good. Commissioner Rich, you had something?
Well, it's an agricultural recreational ordinance. When I think of agriculture, I think of animals as well.
Sure.
What if you had a livestock operation where you would allow people come out and look at your calves? That's not a growing season, that's a year-round event. So,
Absolutely.
we don't want to preclude somebody from having something really educational for young children in our communities.
Yep. Absolutely, and that's why the exception was put in there, John. Yep.
Yeah. Any other questions for Kurt? Yeah, Commissioner Jarrett.
Yeah, I do. To me, there's two things here. You got these allowable uses without a conditional use permit, and then you have a conditional, what has to be applied for a conditional use permit. So people do not have to come in and apply for this stuff here on page 1. So to me, that's concerning that you can have 75 days, any of these areas, and nobody has a say about it. The conditional use permit will all be discussed because they have to apply. It can be hashed and rehashed, and it can be said, no, you can't do this, or you can only do this for so many days. To me, the concern is when you don't have to apply for a conditional use permit.
Yeah, absolutely. Any questions for Kurt before he steps away? Okay, thank you, Kurt.
Thanks for your time.
All right, if anyone else would like to speak in this public hearing on Article 8, Special Uses Ag Recreation, please approach the lectern and tell us who you are, where you're from, and sign in.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jamie Feist from Baldwin. I was also a participant in the focus groups. I attended both of the meetings. I got to meet you all last year when we went through this. I do have a few concerns. Big concern is the number of days, 75 days. I do believe that that is too much. Like Commissioner Streifel had mentioned, it first started out as 30 days or 30 events per year or twice a month. I think 75 days with 50 people is getting a little excessive. I live in a township that has 190 people for the whole township. 50 people a day for 75 days in a row. That's a lot of commotion. I don't agree with the part of the draft ordinance where you can have up to 50 people per day for 75 days in a row without a permit. I think the issue we had last year pertaining to a corn maze was we did not have an ordinance that allowed the use of that. So that was one of the reasons why it wasn't able to be passed. I think we're kind of jumping ahead of ourselves now. We're creating an ordinance that's going to permit these uses on ag land. But if you keep it up to the maximum of 50 people a day, you don't even need a permit. I believe that, especially corn mazes, hay bale mazes, stuff like that, that should all go through this public hearing and have public input. Because if you can have up to 50 people per day for the 75-day max without a permit, that kind of takes a lot of control away from the commission or the county, because if there is an issue that does arise without a requirement of a permit, there's no recourse on your end. If it's causing an issue at a particular property, there's no way that a permit can be revoked. That was one of the points that we talked about at the focus group meeting was, if there is issues, we can always revoke a permit. That was discussed numerous times with this permit. If we do run into an issue, we can revoke the permit. I think the 50 people per day without a permit, I don't think that that's going to work out, especially in instances where it does cause damage or loss on neighboring properties. Originally, it was just supposed to be the exception for educational activities, school buses full of children, whatnot, that those were the type of activities where you did not need a permit. The other activities, such as corn mazes, those all of a sudden all got lumped in with the educational, where you don't need a permit. I think those should still be a permitted process. Exception for educational, school buses of kids, whatnot, I'm okay with that. But anytime there's any commercialization, I still think it needs to go to a public hearing so you can have input from neighboring properties, from the public, and we can go from there. So each individual property and each individual permit that gets applied for, there is public input, so everybody's kind of on the same page of what can happen, what we can do if something happens. But I just don't believe that that allowing these activities that are not the educational should be able to be allowed without a permit. That it just takes all the control away from the county. You have no recourse whatsoever. 50 people a day for 75 days, that can cost neighboring landowners a whole lot of money, and it doesn't allow you guys to step in because it will be a permitted use and they're legally allowed to do it. So I think we really need to address that, and that's about all I have to say on that.
yeah.
I'm here for questions.
Yeah, Jamie, just a quick question to you. So just to sum up what you would like changed, it is It's the more the number one, the allowable uses on the 10 acres, to
The
change
allowable
that to
uses,
what?
it should be education should be the exception, which is how we originally started this ordinance. I think instead of jumping in full bore, we can pass an ordinance that allows agritourism, agricultural recreation, which was where we got held up last year. It made it to the county commission. The county commission says we can't really do anything on this because we don't have an ordinance that permits this. We can go ahead and pass an ordinance that permits it, but if it's not educational use, I think it still needs to come through public hearings.
So you're saying on the number one, the allowable uses on 10 acres still should require a permit, as well as the number two?
If it's not for educational purposes.
Okay.
If it's a for-profit enterprise, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Jamie? Yeah, Commissioner
Mr.
Streifel,
if-
sorry.
That's right. If you had to choose a number of days, that's not even something that you're interested in. You think anything other than educational, ag-related activities should be a special use permit? Is that, I'm just trying to.
I believe the 75 days is excessive.
Is there a number of days or is it that anything that's 50 people and under for, multiple times a year would need a special use permit?
I guess it's gonna depend on, I think each individual situation is different, each individual property is different. What works on one property is not gonna work on another. That's where the public hearing, I think, would be beneficial, because each individual property, it's almost like the special use permit, it shows in there, or it says in there that that the commission is allowed to look at each individual property and determine what's the best fit for that property. Some properties, 50 people a day for 75 days in a row, or 50 days in a row, or however many days in a row, there's not gonna have an impact. Some properties, it's gonna have a tremendous impact, and I don't believe the commission wants to pass an ordinance to allow activities that are gonna negatively impact adjoining properties financially. I don't think that's your guys' goal either. You don't want to say, no, you're not allowed to do any of these activities. You wanna have a little bit of freedom, but you also gotta be able to have a little bit of control for individual properties, because I don't think you guys are in the business of allowing one activity to put an existing operation out of business.
Any additional questions for Jamie? If not, thank you for your input, Jamie.
Thank you.
If anyone else would like to speak in this public hearing on the Article 8 Special Uses Ag Recreation, please approach the lectern, let us know who you are, where you're from, and sign in.
I'm Karen Martinezson from northeast of Bismarck. I also was part of the focus group, and so we started at a lower, my concern is the 75 days. We started at a lower number, and then there were people that wanted 90 days. So there was discussion back and forth, and in order to come to some kind of compromise and move things forward, we took a vote, although there were a lot of side conversations going on, and so it was kind of a disorganized vote. We voted a few times. But there's some that just feel like they need more days and some less. And when I think about the growing season, or maybe any activity where people want folks coming out to their place, like Bee mentioned, it could be every weekend. And I don't know how the neighborhood's going to tolerate that kind of thing going on every weekend. It might raise some problems. And even if it's 75 days in the summer, that's even at 50 people a day, that's a lot of traffic. Like out in our area, there'd be a lot of people going by. So I'm just here to say that I would be in favor of less, 60 days or even less. I I guess personally, I really don't see a reason to go beyond 4 to 6 weeks. It would be my viewpoint. And that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. Any questions for Karen before she steps away? Seeing none, thanks.
Thank you.
If anyone else would like to speak in this public hearing, please approach the lectern, tell us who you are, where you're from, and sign in. Anyone else who would like to speak in this public hearing for Article 8, Special Uses, Ag Recreation, please approach the lectern.
My name is Heidi Grease. I live in Baldwin. I was a part of the focus groups. I guess I thought we had come to a good agreement in those groups and did a lot of work and a lot of conversation and some compromise, but now it kind of feels like it was all for naught. But I understand that 75 days, especially if it was consistent, consecutive days, that would be a lot in a neighborhood situation that was agricultural zone property. We did start with a lesser number. I have some notes here. One of them was less than 2 times a month. One was 60 days, one was 90, and I agree there was a vote and of a compromise at 75. So I don't really have an opinion necessarily on the 75 days. It seems excessive when you're talking about consecutive, but if it's not a neighborhood issue, then you're putting someone else under huge constraints. And it sounds to me like making everybody come in here for a special use permit, unless it's a crop or an educational tour system. That sounds like a lot of special use permits for people that maybe just want to do, have 50 people 5 times a year, you know? That seems like a lot of special use permits. So, my second thought is if you're going to change that under that allowable uses number 1 to just be crops, people growing crops that need that many days, where do the rest of the people fall then? Like you had said, if those that use livestock on the ag zoned land, where would they fall? That's going to have to be written in then too, or everybody else per se. So if you're going to change allowable uses without a permit to just people with crops, and that need those 75 days, the rest of the people, where do they fall then? Aside from that, I had emailed Marla and she said to bring it up at the meeting that at the top there under where it says section 31, ag recreation, there's a paragraph and the second sentence says all persons, entities, organizations wishing to establish the use of ag recreation must apply for and be granted a special use permit. So regardless of how this turns out, how you guys decide to move forward with item number 1 below, those say they don't need a permit. So if up above the paragraph says that all, groups need to have a special use permit, but then item 1 you don't, it seems a little contradictory, so I just thought you probably need to clarify some of that, but thanks.
Okay, any questions for Heidi before she steps away? Any questions? And I guess just my question to you, Heidi, is the days. What would you suggest for days?
I don't know how you're going to make it work for everybody. The examples given by people that if you're in like a closer, rectangle-shaped 40-acre plots and you have people coming every single weekend all summer long, I get that. That would be terrible to be a neighbor of that with a lot of traffic. I get that. But then for other ag situations where people are trying to survive and hold events to be able to survive and stay open or, Do you want me to give an exact number based on our preference?
If you've got a number you'd like to tell us, feel free. If you don't, that's fine. I was just wanted
60 is reasonable in our situation too.
Okay. Any other questions for Heidi? Yes, Commissioner Streifel.
Heidi, if you applied for, do you think it would be excessive if, as a private property owner, you came in and applied for a special use permit because you were gonna have 50 people, maybe 10 times during the year, and then you would get a special use permit for a 3-year period? Because you can extend, you can ask for what time period that you want. So does that help with how it might work and be workable?
I suppose, yeah. In some situations, for sure. I think it was the Papa's Pumpkin Patch owner that stated to, for him even to stay open, and I realize he's PUD, so it's completely different, but he even stated that as a business owner, to survive and thrive, he has to add more things in. So, I don't remember if concessions maybe, or I can't remember. He gave examples, not that he wanted to them, like a beer gardens. If I didn't add this to my Papa's Pumpkin Patch, I'd be a fool, because while I have this many people here, I need to add more things that could produce more income. So when the process for getting a special use permit is 6 weeks or so, I believe, by the time you have all your meetings and public hearings and so forth, if you have an idea to launch as an entrepreneur, something new, and by the time you get through that process of 6 weeks, you're looking at the next year as well. So that was one of the things he stated. Because you have to be pretty specific, I suppose, with those special use permits. And it's pretty exact what you're going to do, I imagine.
Correct. Yep. Any other questions for Heidi? Seeing none, thank you, Heidi. If anyone else would like to speak, 1 second, I'll just catch you, Kurt. If anyone else want to speak before we have a repeat speaker, anyone else like to come up? Okay, not seeing any.
Do I have to sign in again, Commissioner?
You can just tell us who you are, where you're from.
Okay, Kurt Fleck, Bismarck. After listening to this, I'd have a suggestion for the commission. So, for 2 years, everybody's been comparing all this to Dave's Papa Pumpkins Patch, right? I mean, we heard it again tonight, how it started, where it's gone, ended up being a PUD. I think Dave would probably come here and tell you that when he started, it was probably 3 to 4 weeks where he was selling pumpkins. I remember. I'm old enough to remember that, right? So maybe we start with a 3-week or a 4-week rather than 6, and let the process develop, just like the patch.
Yeah, so when you say 3 to 4 weeks, you're talking kind of every
Instead of
day,
the-
so
yeah,
basically
instead
it
of
would
the-
be
instead of
30,
the
like
60,
30 days.
75, let's go 21 or 30 days.
Gotcha.
A suggestion. So again, for 2 years, everybody wants to compare to the patch. Well, they started, there was a process that they started, and it didn't end up to where he is today, where he's, 2 months and all kinds of different vendors and everything else out there. That didn't just happen overnight, so that's a suggestion.
Okay, any questions for Kurt before he steps away? Seeing none, thank you, Kurt.
Yep.
Would anyone else like to speak on this in this public hearing on Article 8, Special Uses Ag Recreation? If so, please approach the lectern, let us know who you are, where you're from, and sign in. Anyone else like to speak in this public hearing? And our last call for speaking at this public hearing for Article 8, Special Uses Ag Recreation. Seeing none, is there any reason anyone knows of that we need to continue this public hearing? Okay, then knowing that, I will close the public hearing and we can move into action and decisions on this public hearing for Article 8, Special Uses Ag Recreation. Yes, Commissioner.
I'll move we approve and send it to the county commission as presented, except for in section 31, the first page, remove the second sentence because it seems contradictory to what we have under item 1. So move to approve as presented with the exception of eliminating that one sentence.
Mr. Chair,
Second.
there's normally 2 public hearings in front of planning and zoning.
What's that?
There's normally 2 public
Oh.
hearings in front of,
So that's inappropriate?
No, you can move whatever you would like, so it has
Well,
been
no,
moved.
no, we need to have another public hearing?
Will there be a second public hearing here, or will the second public hearing be at the county commission?
Yes, it'll be at the planning commission.
Okay.
To hear these corrections, we'll move this to a second public hearing.
Okay.
Second
okay,
public
okay.
hearing at the
I'll
public, or,
He withdraws his
I'll
second, I
withdraw.
withdraw my motion. I'd like to change my motion to approve as presented, with the exception of removing the second sentence under section 31.
Second.
okay, so it has been moved and seconded to approve as written, the ordinance with the exception of, the statement under section 31 agricultural resources that reads, all persons, entities, or organizations wishing to establish the use of public recreation within Burleigh County must apply for and be granted a special use permit. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Streifel.
I would just like to remind commissioners of Article 11, Agricultural District Regulations. The principal use of land is for general agricultural uses, and the regulations are intended to prohibit commercial and industrial usage of the land, and to prohibit any other use which would interfere with the development or continuation of the agricultural use of the land, and to discourage any use which, because of its character or size, would create requirements and costs for public services such as police and fire protection, water supply, sewer, et cetera. Well, I know when we first started talking about this, I initially suggested that private property owners who wish to use their land for use other than ag or farm purposes simply put their plan on a piece of paper with the help of the Burleigh County Planning and Zoning staff, and a public hearing is then held prior to the SUP being approved. And it's basically a very simple process that allows for neighbors and neighboring property owners to be involved with what's being done on a property next to you. There are so many long, skinny, rectangle-shaped 40 acres in Burleigh County that it's really difficult for someone to hold an event of, let's say, 50 to 75 people, even 30 times a year, and not adversely affect the property right beside them, because you're in these long, skinny stretches of land, and you're not in a nice big square, for example. So there's a lot of those. And so when we're doing a ordinance like this, I think we have to be careful. I think we have to start on a more restrictive line. And I would hope that for someone like Circle C Ranch, that it would be simple to get a special use permit and have one for 5 or 10 or 30 years. And then it would just be a done deal. You wouldn't have to ever worry. Nobody's going to have a problem with what you want to do, and I would suggest that. So I just wanted to remind the Commission of Agricultural Land and the purpose for it.
Thank you, Commissioner Streifel. Commissioner Patrick, yes.
Well, I think we heard several times, and I would agree. I had that marked myself before we came to the meeting, but I believe that 75 days is too many days. And I'd like to see that changed to 50 days, which would adequately represent the growing season. Probably even less, could go less, but I'd say 50 days to begin with. And I'm not sure that I would agree that you should not have a special permit, a use permit for section 1. I'm thinking there should be a special use permit, at least for some of those functions on there. I guess viewing a farm animal and petting them or something like that probably isn't a big deal, but I'm looking at corn maze and hay bale maze. I think that can create quite a congestion over that period of time. The other thing that in here that I noted, and I mentioned it to Mitch earlier, is they've got 45 decibels nighttime noise level. And you've heard me say before, the nighttime background in North Dakota is 35 decibels, 35, 36 weighted decibels. And so that nighttime should be lowered to 35, because that's what it is. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any other?
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
I'd like to, go ahead.
Yes, Commissioner Bittner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's been a lot of good conversation. I know a lot of good effort put into this. But I got a couple of points. I'm not going to support not having a special use permit. The county has to have a clawback if we're going to allow these sort of things, which we may not be able to do. I guess that's my point is I'm not going to support anything that does not include a special use permit. And I think less days is certainly a better starting point than 75. And then the third thing that I have is I wonder if anybody talked to the county state's attorney, because it's always been my understanding that we can't make zoning ordinances that impact agriculture. So I guess that's a question. Did anybody run this past the state's attorney yet?
Yes, Marla, can
Thank
you
you.
answer that?
Yes, I've sent it to State's Attorney's Office for review. She hasn't gotten back to me yet, but she does have it. So
Okay, thank you.
she is going through it.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Yeah, Commissioner Conley.
I do agree that the change, whether it's removing the sentence or changing the word all, has to happen. 50 days, I mean, a lot of the special use permits are even, they go based on a season, like it's a Halloween season or a winter season where there's during Christmas break and things where a lot of people have time off. That doesn't really warrant a 2 or 3 month look. Even summer, with our winters being so long, that harvest season we kind of protect just because the increased traffic with large machinery and all that stuff. Out of that whole list, I can see where any mazes might lean towards a special use every time, because even we don't have the resources to police everything, even in city ordinances. So a lot of things are driven by complaint basis. And sometimes it's competitors complaining in order to get a leg up versus a leg down on the other. It's a really hard thing to navigate. So out of that list, the corn mazes and hay bale mazes, I can see hitting on that fringe really easily, where the other ones, depends on how many tractors and things you get, or horses you want to have for rides and things. It gets a little harder to exceed that 50. But to get too restrictive, at what point in time do people just lose the rights of using their property? And that's one thing that America enjoys, where other countries don't so much. And I mean, that should be up to debate also, because if you buy property and then you are very restricted on what you can do with it, I'm not saying no restriction, but it has to be part of the conversation, I would think.
Thank you. Any other comments? Commissioner Jarrett, yeah.
Address the motion here. I cannot support the motion because to me, I think there's needs to be a definition between commercial and agricultural. Some of these, here again, corn mazes, that's commercial to me. I mean, corn is agriculture, but your profit, you're making an additional enterprise off of that. So to me, somehow it needs to be broken out or something to where if it's commercial, no matter what it is, it has to have a special use permit. Because I don't think anybody buys agricultural land to have a commercial operation next door to them. So that's my thought on that and why I can't support the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Yeah, Commissioner
I'd
Rich.
just like to say that what we have before us is a compromise from some experts in this area. And I don't think allowing these things hurts agriculture. It enhances it. I think of maybe a young guy at Moffett, by the way. Moffett might want to do hay rides. We were going to have to force him to go through a special use permit to come before this body, come before this county commission before he can offer hay rides and make a few bucks on the side. I don't know. I'm a property rights guy, and we should allow people to do things within reason. And I don't think this is unreasonable, and it's a compromise that a lot of people that know far more than me about it have come up with. So that's why I moved to adopt it.
One clarification, and Marla, maybe you can help me out with this, is that if someone is doing this and not charging money or charging money, does it change? Does it change that that is part of the ordinance or not, or it doesn't matter?
Well, with the 50 people, because we have the limit of 50 people, I don't know how much profit that would bring in to where it would be considered commercial. But if you're going to have 100 people a day or 1,400 people on the weekend, then that turns it into commercial enterprise. It's just, the ordinance was written the way they wrote it was so that, like he said, property owners do have the ability to hold some events without having to go through a special use. Because it wouldn't really be considered a commercial. It could be an agricultural, I'm trying to think of what the word is, enhancement or ag-related. So I think if they're having more than 50 people a day, yeah, that's a problem. That's commercial.
Okay.
So,
Okay, I just, thank you.
Yeah.
That answers my question. Yes, Commissioner Streifel.
Just for example, with hay rides, obviously, the majority of rural people are not going to have a problem with hay rides unless you're having 100 people out there 3 times a week, and that's where you're going to start having complaints. This isn't anything to do with a normal agricultural private property rights. This is when you're going over and above that. And I just have to say what Commissioner Bittner said earlier, I agree with. I think I'm having a tough time being able to support this without a special use permit, but it's not for your regular agricultural, recreational activities that you would do as a family or you would do as a neighborhood. This is about bringing in people from outside of the area. It's about travel on the rural roads. It's about emergency vehicles. It's about property rights of the neighbors, because everybody has equitable rights. So it's about more than just stopping somebody from having hay rides.
Thank you. Commissioner Patrick, did you have anything? Okay. Yeah, and Commissioner Conley.
I'll just say I'll vote no on this motion because I think the motion should be, we should call for the second hearing versus approve anything, make the changes, call for the second hearing so we can go through that process. So the wording's worded correctly.
Okay. Yeah, Commissioner Patrick.
Well, I also think that some of the things that we talked about should show up as an amendment to this thing right now, such as, for instance, the noise level, such as, are we going to allow or require a special use permit for everything? Those are the things I think need to show up on this motion.
I think one thing that, and I will remind people, I know I brought this up at the beginning, is that to me, I think this needs to maybe err on the more restrictive than the more open. And I only say that is because there's a PUD. There's a PUD process that anyone who wants to go more than this, it goes through the same process. It's basically like a special use permit. It's rezoning, but it's almost like a special use permit saying that I'm going to run this and I'm going to do this, and this, and that is part of your public your PUD. So I just want to kind of mention that is definitely another way that if people were going to do things related to this and it didn't fit into this I guess ordinance as we have it written, there is openness to go another route.
Question. Let's call for the question.
Okay, question has been called. Is there a second? Or, excuse me, we will vote on the question. Yeah, that is correct. That is correct. So we will, is there any opposition to previous question? Seeing none, we'll move into a vote. All right, we will vote on the motion, and Marla, do you have down the motion?
yes.
Okay. If
Okay,
so, then, go ahead, yep.
The motion is to approve it with the removal of the second sentence under Section 31, agricultural recreation, which would be all persons, entities, and organizations. be granted a special use. So that was the motion. Yes means you agree, no means you do not.
And Marla, just if this motion passes or doesn't pass, basically if it passes, it goes to a second hearing.
Yes.
If it does not pass, then what happens?
If it does not pass, we have to either make another motion or send it back with suggested changes.
Okay.
And then we'll have another public hearing. Either way, we're going to another public hearing.
Sure.
Yep.
Whether we make the changes tonight or at the second public hearing.
Thank you for the clarification. Please
Okay.
take us through the roll call vote.
All right. Commissioner Patrick,
No.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Streifel,
No,
Commissioner Zuroff,
Yes.
Commissioner Bittner,
No.
Commissioner Conley,
No.
Commissioner Jarrett,
No.
and Chairman.
No.
Okay, motion failed.
Okay.
2-6.
That motion in this public hearing has failed. And is there another motion anyone would like to bring up? Commissioner Patrick.
I would move that we send this back to the planning and zoning so that they can put in some of the suggestions that we came up with tonight, such as the removal of, for instance, corn mazes, hay bale mazes from the section 1. Also, to reduce the noise level, also to reduce the days to 15 days. Anything else that anybody else wants to add to that?
If you call for the second hearing, I'll second it.
What's that?
Okay.
If you call for the second hearing, I'll second it.
if you leave that, all persons, entities, or organizations wishing to, need to apply for a special use permit, that covers what I think myself and Commissioner Bittner were concerned about.
Yeah, so if you could state kind of the exacts of what you're looking to change with your motion.
Well, what did you want, what did we want with that?
We want to leave it as is, so.
Yeah, that's right, that's the first section.
Yeah.
Well, I already pointed out, 50 days,
Yep.
35 decibels, removing corn, hay bale mazes and hay rides from the, corn mazes and hay bale mazes from the section 1. And reducing the days allowed to 50 days per year.
And,
And call for
okay.
Second.
Okay, so if I have this down correctly, it is you're moving to move this to a second public hearing with the changes of instead of 75 days that goes down to 50 days. We take B and C out of number 1 under section 31.
Just B.
just B.
Oh, I thought you said hay rides also. No,
just
okay.
Hay bales.
Hay bales, sorry. So B out of number 1 under section 31. Change the decibels from
For nighttime.
the nighttime decibels from 45 to 35, and calling for the second public hearing. Clear as mud, Marla? Okay, and that was made by Commissioner Patrick. Who seconded that?
Conley.
Commissioner Conley. Okay. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into a roll call vote. Marla, if you could take us through that.
I've got all your changes. So, yes vote means you approve, no vote means you do not, and the changes are 50 days, decibels to 35 at night, and remove corn mazes and hay rides from corn mazes and hay bale mazes from section 1.
Correct.
That's hard to say.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so, Commissioner Bittner,
Yes.
Commissioner Conley,
Yes.
Commissioner Jarrett,
Yes.
Commissioner Zuroff,
No.
Commissioner Streifel,
Yes,
Commissioner Rich,
No.
Commissioner Patrick,
Yes.
and Chairman.
Yes.
Approved 6-2.
Okay, that the Article 8 Special Use Ag Recreation Ordinance is approved to go to a second public hearing. I assume we will have that second public hearing next month?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other business other than adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other business, Commissioner Conley?
I just want to say that the county, and then it moved to the city, and we're just looking at a date from the city. There'll be discussion on the ETA. The first one will be educational based to get everybody up to speed, so we're talking about it. But that's something that planning and zoning should be well aware of and pay attention to, because it's a discussion that's been needed for a long time.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner
May I just
Streifel.
add something? I know there's, I think, 3 commissioners coming up for reappointment or not by the end of the year, and I would just tag on to what Mike was saying, that with this ETA stuff coming up, I think there's only 2 commissioners out of 9 that are outside of the ETA right now, who reside outside of the ETA. So hopefully there'll be some applicants from people who live in the rural areas.
All right. Any other business other than adjourning? Okay, it has been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, we're adjourned.